The colour. So the thing I love about this colour is it really pops and changes depending on the daylight. If you see the video I did around having it ceramic coated, you'll see how that's changed. So this is actually Alfa Rosso. So the reason to choose this colour is it is not a paid for option. It is a standard colour, but it is true to the Alfa. Now a lot of people chose not this red. They chose the Competizione red, and one of the reasons, well, that was on my original spec. There were two things on my original spec which I didn't do, which was the Competition carbon fibre back seats and the Competizione tricolour paint. So let's just have a quick look at it, because it's worth having a look round. I mean, I think it just looks absolutely gorgeous, and this light's a bit overcast. Now, there were a couple of reasons to choose this paint. Firstly, cost, and when I spoke to the dealer around resale values, what they noted was a lot of people took the Competizione tricolour paint, and that shows in the used vehicles that are around, because most people spec'd that. Well, I say most people, they reckon it was like something like 60% of the cars were spec'd in Competizione red, and that's fair enough, because that was the launch colour for this car. But I think this looks amazing. It's funny because it looks really deep here. It is actually a bit dirty, so apologies, it did get rained on this week. But it really pops in the sunlight as well, and sort of lightens up, especially when it's clean, especially now I've had the ceramic coat done on it. Now, the resale value on the Competizione red versus this Alfa red, there's not a lot in it. So from an investment point of view, buying a new car being something I'd not done before, it made sense not to spec the Competizione red. And you know what? I do not regret it one bit. And actually people's reaction to it has been really good as a colour. To steal from somebody else's video, just look at it sat there. It does have an amazing presence and stance on the road. Just so many great angles. Really good. So the other thing you will notice, let's go around this side, is calipers. So as standard they come black. What we've got here is yellow. Now I didn't choose that. Some people said to make out like I've got carbon ceramics, because I do not, but it's actually not a bad price option. It's like 300 quid to paint them. You can have red as well, but anyway, I went for yellow because I just think that looks really good on the car, sets off quite nicely with my badges. I did talk around putting the badge in yellow. By the way, this is something I have done. It is not an option to have it Nero'd out. I think it looks much better in black rather than that big shiny bit. I don't think I'm going to do anything else on the back there. So that is an option. So there we go. The next thing to then talk about is comfort pack. So unlock the doors, lock the doors using comfort pack. So that's basically keyless entry. Now this is really good timing because it's about to start raining, so we should jump in and have a look at some of the options inside. Thanks for joining me inside. Good timing because it's about to rain. So we need to talk around a few of the things that are options inside the car. So one of the good things about the newer model, so I think it was from sort of about October 2018, they started bringing in Apple CarPlay as standard. I can't quite remember if it was an option or not on the earlier cars, but I know it definitely wasn't on the very early one. So to me, that was a big plus. And having never had Apple CarPlay before, I overall think it's brilliant. The interesting thing for me is I've always been a hater of touchscreen interfaces, which this doesn't have. It has a nice jog wheel. However, actually, when you're using Apple CarPlay, a little pinch and zoom would be really useful, actually. I find quite difficult to play around with Google Maps. But anyway, that's less about the spec. As I talked about, I have the, I think they call it convenience pack, not comfort pack. I called it comfort pack. That's something else. I have the convenience pack. So the convenience pack means that you can get in and out of the car with keyless entry, which is good and bad. But what I do love is living in central London. I also have to have one of these. I've gone 1980s retro, and I have a steering wheel lock, but you can disable the keyless entry, which I do quite a lot. You can also then deadlock the doors. So it's worth noting there's two things that when you do it, as far as I'm aware, I need to double check this, test it, but this is what I've read, is that when you lock it on the convenience pack, so i.e. pushing the button on the door handle, it deadlocks the doors, whereas if you use the remote, you have to press it twice. I love the fact that there's a button next to the boot opener which also unlocks the car as well, so you don't have to come to one of the doors. It's not far to walk, is it? So the convenience pack is also worth noting that in order to have the stereo upgrade, you have to have the convenience pack. I've got to get them the right way around. I have no idea why that is, but it just is the case. Now, the stereo is an interesting one, and we will talk about that in a minute. I didn't originally spec it in my first spec, but I changed my mind, and one of the reasons for that is because you cannot upgrade, well, easily, according to most of the sort of interweb and most of the comments on forums, the standard stereo. Now, a lot of people say it's quite good. If I'm honest, this is probably a video in itself because there is so much chat on the forums around the stereo. Personally, my view so far is it's okay. Does have some limitations, but I do come from an F-Type where the stereo was, well, shit. The next option is stitching. You might be able to see some here. I will show you properly at the moment, but there's quite a lot of stitching in this car, and as a result, it's worth looking at the colour you choose. Now, for me, one of the biggest things that people choose, or the biggest selection from looking at all the used cars, because I looked for a long time, was they had red. And I just felt with all this black interior, it made it feel really dark. And the one thing about this car is it's the Quadrifolglio, the green and the white. Like, it really signifies what this car is about. So I went for the green and white stitching. And actually, interestingly, if I hadn't, there were actually cars in stock with Alfa that I could have used or bought. So for me, I think it really sets it off. I think it looks really nice. What do you guys think? Let me just flip you around here so you can have a look. So it's across the dashboard here, and like, you know, I look at it constantly. I mean, it's there everywhere, across there, on the seats, looks really, and the doors as well, and the handles, on the edge of the seats, and then all the way up to the headrest where you have the classic Alfa Romeo logo, and on the back as well, you can see, like, I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in the back, as you can imagine, but it looks really nice, I think, you know, especially on those doors. I just think it sets it off really, really nicely. The way it sweeps over that dashboard as well, and the leather. It's a shame that they've done all this in leather, and then look, big plastic door sills down there. Oh, why did you do that? And then even on the armrest here. So yeah, looks really, really, really nice. Let's talk about the final option on this car, the steering wheel. Again, not a ridiculously expensive upgrade for this car. So it's going to be really difficult to show you from this angle, so I might jump out so you can see properly. But basically, you can have an upgraded steering wheel. So they all come with this button. Interestingly, only red on this one. Very Ferrari-esque. I know it's not a Ferrari, but it does steal a lot of bits from it. What it does have is this beautiful carbon fibre insert. I'm going to get it right this time. Alcantara top. It's a really nice thin steering wheel. Having come from, if you watch my other videos, an F-Type where you basically had a steering wheel like this big that came straight out the parts bin from Land Rover, Jaguar, and is used on many of their cars. This is just really nice to use. The buttons are all super, you know, functional. Obviously, that's what they're there for. But they do work, and they do. Got speed control and stuff like that. So things I didn't get, actually, interestingly, is probably what these blank bits are for, is this does have, I don't know what you call it, but like distance sensing. So it will brake if you get too close to the car in front. And one thing you can option, which as I say, I think is for these buttons, is you can option to have distance sensing cruise control. I don't use cruise control a lot in this car. I drive it because that's what it's for. So yeah, I didn't really need speed sensing cruise control. It seemed like a madness amount of money to spend on it. The steering wheel, I've forgotten how much it is now, 375 quid, I think. And if I'm honest, 9 out of 10 used cars have spec'd this, and I think you'd be mad not to spec it because it just really sets off nicely. It ties in well with the carbon fibre on the dash and around the centre console, which incidentally marks really easily, which bugs the hell out of me. But it does look really nice. It's a shame it's a bit plasticky in the middle. I like the Dart logo that they've got as well, and we'll have a quick look at that in a second. But yeah, there you go. There's the steering wheel. Probably don't need to jump out to show you. There's some hilarious things in the documentation that say if you have a steering wheel, which is an option, then you'll have these things. Like, it does come with a steering wheel normally if you don't. So one last thing to note on the stereo is when you do the upgrade, you get additional speakers. So you get a subwoofer in the boot, you get these little speakers down here, which I will show you. It's the full Harman Kardon stereo. There's a lot of debate around like how much investment they put into it and how good the speakers are behind it. But again, I think this is another discussion totally. You also get the center speaker in the middle of the dashboard. So I think in addition, there's maybe 4 or 6 additional speakers compared to the standard, but it gives you a more rounded sound, so you get these kind of like mids in the door and stuff like that. Beyond anything else, I really like the way these little mids look on the door, and it is a bit vain, isn't it? But you know, I think it's important how this car looks. It is a bit of a shame that there's big swathes of plastic on these door buckets and down the side of the seatbelt pillars, but they do really
forgot to tell you about one major spec thing. So as I said, I really wanted the carbon back seats, but the downside with that is carbon back seats don't come with electric adjustments, and to me that's kind of a bit of a creature comfort. And with that you get a heated electric steering wheel, heated, it's obviously electric, heated steering wheel, heated seats, and full electric adjustment. And the carbon seats are also, I think, 2.5 to 3 grand as an option, which is a lot to basically get some nice carbon fibre backed seats. But actually, visually, these look really nice, and the lumbar's awesome. You get full electronic lumbar support. The only thing I have to say is they're a bit wide, and so they look a bit chunky here, but they're not bad looking seats. They really are nice, and I'm just not convinced it's worth 3 grand almost. Correct me if I'm wrong, 2.5 to 3 grand for the carbon fibre back seats. The only thing it does get you is it gives you a lot more leg room, which it is quite tight in the back with these seats. And because the carbon fibre back ones take up less space and they're not as chunky as these, I think they could have done something a bit better with the seats, and I'll be very surprised if they don't do a slightly thinner version in future versions. The interesting thing is when looking at used, not a lot of them have carbon fibre back seats, the bucket seats. They are lovely, they are truly lovely, but you give up a lot as part of that, so you don't get any of the sort of convenience of electric adjusted seats. I love memory seats, I think that's a great thing as well. And so if you did that.
The wheels, now these 5 pot wheels in this lovely graphite colour, although quite dirty at the moment, are actually also an option, as are the yellow calipers, which I think I've already mentioned. The normal, the standard wheels come with like this Y shape, but I think this is a classic.
There we have it. Finally, I've got around to telling you the spec of my car. I've been too busy driving it and enjoying it, to be honest, to actually tell you about it. There are a few other bits you can do to this. You can have I cannot talk today. You can get aftermarket carbon covers for the wing mirrors, which frankly I think would ruin it. You can get an aftermarket carbon cover for the V at the front. I am tempted to colour that black or wrap it. What do you guys think? Change the colour of it? I keep toying the idea. Oh, front number plate delete. I took off the standard number plate mount because it is big, plastic and freaking ugly and destroys the lines of the car, and opted for a stick-on one instead. So there we have it, my 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia spec
What do you guys think? I just think this car is amazing. The road presence is fantastic. People love it, they really do, and beyond anything else, so do I. If you have any comments, please remember to put them below. I try and respond to everything. Please remember to like and subscribe for loads more content, especially about this car to come. Thanks guys, cheers. Oh, you're still here? Go away, there'll be another video soon. Thank you, bye.